Hi guys, Brian Karp, sales giant and mailbox money. And this is a little private webinar all about how the Karp family got involved in investment, buy and hold rental real estate. So I got a little slideshow that I'm going to jump on for you guys. So let me share my screen. So bear with me a minute. Okay, we're almost there. All right, perfect. So it all started about 20 years ago. So I ended up graduating from Stony Brook University, as you see my jerseys right behind you guys. And at that time, it was 2005, top of the last housing market. Economy was on fire, and I couldn't get a job anywhere. And I'm like, what do I do with my life? And my father, who was an old school construction worker, he literally turned my bedroom into a billiards parlor. So there was absolutely no chance I was going back home. And thank God, one of my buddies on the football team, I actually have it with me right here. So hold on while I slide out of the camera, gave me this incredible book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And this was the first book that I ever read cover to cover. And picture that I just graduated college and it was the first book I ever read cover to cover. And I ended up purchasing the house on the bottom left hand of your screen, the gray one. And that was one of my first, actually, that was the first property we ever purchased. And that was Park Avenue. And the house was set up as basically two houses in one, right? So Jessica and myself, and Jess at that time was just my girlfriend. So she was living upstairs and we rented out the entire downstairs. And we rented that downstairs out for $2,000 a month. And our monthly mortgage payment at that time, I know it sounds crazy. Our monthly mortgage payment at that time was $1,900. So we were literally living there making $100 a month. And I had the aha moment. And I said to myself, this is it. This is what I'm going to do in my life. I'm going to buy rental real estate. Now, fast forward almost another 18 months later, I wasn't even a realtor at that time. And I must have seen, I would say, at least 100 houses. And the last 90 houses I saw, or maybe the last 10 houses after the first 90, I was putting offers in and then I would do an inspection or I would do an overview and I would back out. And I'm literally standing in front of that blue house. And this is 18 years ago. I'm actually in a car with my father, Steve. And the whole time I'm telling him, like, this is the house. This is the house I'm going to buy. Now, picture this. This house was literally brand new construction. The old house burnt down and it was like 8 houses away from that Park Avenue house. And I put it in an offer and literally I must have had 13 pages of notes, like what can go wrong? How am I going to handle this? An emergency fund for the roof, emergency fund for the boiler. What are bad months to rent? Like the amount of research and data that I did before I bought this one house was like absolutely insane. And I'm sitting there in the car and my dad, Steve, looks at me like this. And he was a very, he was a person who would never curse. And he said to me, Beej, right? My name's Brian, middle name's Jamie. He said, Beej, you better buy this fucking house or you better find something else to do with your life. And so I ended up pulling the trigger on that house and it actually went perfect. I rented it within a few weeks and I had a long-term tenant there for a very long time. And from there, I was off to the races. I was literally addicted to real estate. And let me see if I know how to move the slides. There we go. Okay, so once we purchased that first house, I'm sure there's something out there that says like the first one's the hardest, and once you hit the first one, it's like it just compounds itself. So a few months later, we were on to the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, right? And you fast forward in another 3 years, we accumulated 10 single family properties. Now, our business model with the single family properties was relatively simple. I saw one entity buying up all the commercial real estate around Ronkonkoma train station, and it was Hub Project LLC. And at that time, we were just starting our real estate business, so our income level wasn't where it was today. So we couldn't play in the commercial space. So what did I do is I started buying up all of these cottages or small ranch style houses right around Ronkonkoma. Okay. And the reason I liked them is they were all somewhere between 700 and 1,000 square feet. And I knew if we gutted it down to the studs and we rearranged the rooms and the walls, we can turn these 1 bedroom cottages into 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom houses. Oh, I just skipped. Hold on. Okay. 2 or 3 bedroom houses. And I knew that those 2 and 3 bedroom houses would rent for $2,500, $2,600, even some of the smaller ones back then was like 18, 1900. And the best part about all of these single family houses is they all had super low taxes because they were all cottages that were built back in the day around Lake Ronkonkoma. So for me, they cash flowed, and that's all that mattered to me. And I know they didn't cash flow a lot, but right, it started off one was making us $1,000 a month in passive income, and I thought I was rich because I was a construction worker, and I used to drive into Manhattan 5 days a week, wake up at 4 in the morning, crawl into attics and insulation everywhere. And I think my starting salary a week was like $500. So if I can make $1,000 off one house by doing nothing, I'm like, this real estate thing is the ticket. And it went from the first house making 1,000, the second one 800, then we're at 1,800, third one making $2,000, and then it just compound. The issue we started running into with these single family houses is it was 10 roofs, 10 boilers, 10 sprinklers to deal with. On top of that, it was when, let's just say 20 Pleasure, which we actually still own today. And I'll tell you a good story on what you guys could do if you get involved in buy and hold real estate. With 20 Pleasure, when 20 Pleasure was vacant, it was 100% vacant. So there was no revenue coming in from that unit. So it was frustrating when we had to do turnover, and sometimes turnover takes a month or two. We were getting no revenue from there. So we said, there's got to be a better way. And there is a better way. And I'm going to flip to the next slide and I'll talk about what we found out about and what was the next level. But I just want to paint a picture for you guys on 20 Pleasure. I ended up buying 20 Pleasure for $120,000. And you guys can pull that up online. Now, today we still own it. It's probably worth somewhere in that $550,000 to $600,000 range. Now, today, if I needed capital, I could do a mortgage on the property and pull out 70%. Right now, let me take out my calculator. Let's just, use rough numbers. Let's just say it's worth 550 and I pull out 70%. That's $385,000. Now, I told you guys I bought it for $180,000. So I get my $180,000 back plus, right? Let's minus 180,000. Sorry, I can't do math in my head. Then I get a free $200,000 in cash that is totally tax-free. So that's why this game is the right game. The thing I'm going to tell every single one of you guys watching this private webinar is you don't see the benefits and you don't become wealthy in real estate right away, right? You actually don't become wealthy in real estate for a decade. And now I'm doing it almost 2 decades. And finally, are we really starting to see the benefits of it? Let's see if I figured out the slides. Oh, wrong direction. Okay, here we go. So after we thought we mastered the single family game, we got introduced to what's better than one door or one unit, 2 units. And we started buying more of a multifamily 2 units. And the reason why we really like this model is we saw that these properties were slightly more expensive than the single families. They were a little bit harder to find because we only buy legal, legitimate CO'd or CEU'd multifamily, but they were harder to find, a little bit more expensive, but not double the price. And the nice thing about this one, and this is actually, I still own it today, Michigan Street. It looks a lot nicer now because we renovated it, but this had 2 incomes coming in, right? So when one unit was vacant, we still received income from the second unit. And then when we looked at our cash on cash return and our passive income coming, these were substantially higher than we were getting off the single families. Now, what we also started to figure out was a lot of these 2 families had garages, and we started buying 2 families that had garages. So then we started renting out the garages along with the houses and having, like, this one house, we get 3 incomes off of this one house. Now, what's better than a two family? Well, there's always something better, right? I think when I played college football, my coach used to say to me, Carp, there's always someone bigger, better, faster, and stronger than you. And that's accurate in real estate until you get to a certain level. But there's always somebody or some idea that's bigger, faster, stronger than you. So after we got introduced to two families and we ran around, I think we bought 5 or 6 of them, we said, there's got to be a better way. And there is. And there's 3 families, 4 families, and 5 families, and small little apartment buildings. Now, they're even harder to find in Suffolk County. They are even more expensive, but they're doable. This is one of the first ones that we ever purchased, still own it today, and it's a 944 Union. And I'll just give you the business model of this one. This had 4 units, right? So if you look at the front door, to the left was 1 unit, to the right was another unit. And then when you go upstairs, there was another unit and another unit. Generally, these bigger multis, you have to take them with the occupants. We did. 1 unit was vacant, so no money coming in there. And the other 3 were like the bottom one was 700. This one to the right was like 900. And the people upstairs was like 1100. So I knew, because each unit was about 600 to 700 square feet, I knew, because of our old model, if you remember back to the single family houses, I remembered that we could turn 700 square feet into a great 2 bedrooms. So what we basically did is we pushed everyone out, or we asked them to start moving their rents up to market rent, because everyone was highly below market rent. And I see this in a lot of the multifamilies I purchase. It's funny, I spoke to a group of high net worth business owners yesterday, and their question when I was at this slide was, well, why are these properties mismanaged, and how are you getting where like you forcing the appreciation? Where are you seeing the gain there? And what happens is, a lot of times these are homes that are owned by estates, or the landlords become tired and they don't keep up with the rents. So the landlord who owned this passed away, and his kids sold the asset because everybody wanted their money, and he was never really raising people. So what we did is we probably spent around $10,000 per unit, and we turned them into 2-bedroom units. And today it's a great building. The gentleman all the way in the bottom left actually is the original guy, but we got him up to market rent, which is like $22.50. Up top, I think is paying $23.50, and the same thing, $22.50 and $22.50, right? So that building, we have changed the value of that building, because once you go above 2 units, the values of the buildings are sheerly classified by the cash flow or the cap rate coming in. Excuse me. Okay. So this building today is a great asset for us. It's probably worth somewhere around 1.4 million with the cap rates that you see in Suffolk County. And I think we paid high 8s for it. And it wasn't like we put in that much money, or it wasn't even like the market changed all that much. It was just that it was just that we were changing the cash coming in from there. Now, below, I don't have a picture of it, but we bought a house during the pandemic, and I just want to show you guys the power of real estate. We bought a house during the pandemic for $475,000. It was a 3-unit property, a 2-family with a guest cottage. We ended up doing a huge renovation totally. And during COVID, everything was super expensive. Renovation cost us about $225,000. So we were into that one property for $700,000. Now, that property today generates around $9,200 a month. And after paying the expenses for the property, it generates us $7,000 a month in passive income, right? That's literally a salary for some people. That's literally more than what I made as a construction worker. And the way it's set up is the first floor tenant in the 2-family pays $3,000. The upstairs pays, I think, like 26, and the guest cottage pays over 3,000. So that's an incredible asset. And the best thing about that asset, and why I love rental real estate and passive income so much, is that money comes in rain or shine. Right? I'm a real estate associate broker, and that's my trade. But if I decided that I was going to take the family to Belize for a month and I wasn't going to work, that money is still coming in, right? And God forbid something happened to me, that money would still come in for Jessica and the kids. That's generational, right? It's a stream of income. And I always say this to people, right? I'm a blessed man. You gave me a check for $100,000. That's not changing my life, even though it's a great blessing. But what is changing my life and what would change your guys' lives is a stream of income forever. And that's what real estate can do for you. Let's see what the next slide has to bring. All right. So now that we've gone through our portfolio today, and I'm 20 years of real estate investing in Suffolk County, what we started to do were things called 1031 exchanges. And it's the game of Monopoly. It's 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. And we bought a beach house on the North Fork about 2 years ago, right when COVID was dying down. And the way we purchased this beach house, and it still fits our motto as the Karp family with rental real estate, is it's got a main house about, I don't know, 1,500 square feet, and it's got a legal guest cottage. Now, if you follow me on any social media, you guys have probably seen us renovating it, and we just got our bulkhead finally completed out there, and that's the Sunset. But that house, the majority of the price of what I paid for that house came from a 1031 exchange of another smaller greenhouse, single family house that we purchased off of auction.com about 8 years ago. And the way a 1031 exchange works is we sold the property. I think we sold it for, I don't know, just under $500,000. Instead of paying tremendous taxes on the $300,000 or $400,000 we made, all of that money went to the 1031 exchange attorney. They held it. And then once we purchased our new North Fork property, they paid for it with that. We did have to add some more funds. So I wanted you guys to know that there's a way to also mitigate taxes through a 1031 exchange. Now, most people don't know about these other ones, and I like to call them cheat codes. There's other 1031 exchanges now, and I've done every single one of them personally, so I could walk any of you guys through them. There's a reverse 1031 exchange. And what that basically looks like is you would purchase the property first. I'm actually in contract on a 4-family right now. We just went into contract today on it, and I'm purchasing it, and I may do a reverse 1031 exchange. And what that will look like is the 1031 exchange will open up a brand new LLC. That property will be purchased in that LLC, will not touch my name. I will fund that purchase, right? So I will give the money to the 1031 exchange company. They will purchase it. They will hold it, cannot touch me. Then I will sell off another asset to pay for that, and then I will be reimbursed with the funds. I love the reverse 1031 exchange. And the reason why I love it is because with the 1031 exchange, there's always like a gun to the back of your head, right? Once you sell the asset, you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to find the next asset to line the money up, where with the reverse is you could find the asset first and then back yourself into it. There's one other one, right? Let's add another cheat code to this. There's one other one that nobody knows about, which we used, is called a 1031 exchange with renovation. So that first house, if you go back to the first slide, the Park Avenue house, we ended up selling it, I don't know, a few years back, and we did a 1031 exchange with renovation. So we ended up selling that asset for $600,000. During our time owning it, we ended up paying it off. So it was a tremendous gain. And we ended up finding a 2-family with a 3-car garage. And I love garages, and I'll tell you about that later. Remind me. We ended up buying that 2-family, needed a ton of work, for $350,000. So picture this, right? I sold the house for $600,000. I take away the $350,000. I still have $250,000 that I'm going to be taxed on at a potential 30% tax bracket, right? That could be $65,000. So what we did is, with renovation, the 1031 exchange company holds the $250,000. And then what they do is they release it to your contractors while you're doing the renovation. Now, if you have LLCs or entities, you can act as the GC, and the checks can be cut to your entity while you're paying for it. So that's a cheat code. That one's incredible. Talking about garages, I don't know if I spoke about this earlier in this private presentation, but we started collecting houses with garages. Today, we have 18 garages in our portfolio, and they're actually some of the best units we have, because we don't deal with really tenants, toilets, and termites. We're dealing with car collectors. I also have a gentleman who restores brownstones, and he literally puts his scaffolding in one of our garages. He's been with me 12 years, and he pays $400 a month. And the cool thing is, he says, Bri, for me to drive to Manhattan to store anything is just astronomical. I'd rather leave it in your garage in Ronkonkoma and just send one of my guys out for 40 minutes. So I can't stress upon you guys enough, buy a house that has a garage to it. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the tax structure with investment real estate. And it doesn't have to just be multifamily, it could even be single family investment real estate. So with investment real estate, you're able to depreciate it for 23 and a half years. So although you're generating income from the property, although the property is going up in value, sometimes a year or two, it may go down a little bit, but over a 10, 20-year period, you're always going to see, a gain in real estate. It's proven. You're able to depreciate it. So you're able to say to the IRS that it's going down in value, and you're able to depreciate it for 23 and a half years. Now, a cheat code, which took me a lot of years to find out about, is something called the cost segregation study. And to keep it very simple, you're able to take all of that 23 and a half years depreciations in years 1, 2, and 3 in different buckets. You have to hire a cost segregation company to do it. I have an amazing one if you need a referral. They'll come out and they basically generate an engineering report that plucks out all of that depreciation. And if you are a real estate professional like myself, which I'm allowed to take 100% losses, or you have passive income, this will actually bring down that passive income you could have. Now, this year, I had another incredible year. Thank all of my clients, friends, and family, and all the people who work with me on my brokerage side. And I only paid $18,000 in federal tax. Well, actually, that was 23, but it's going to be the same thing in 24. So picture this, right? We did close to 200 houses or close to 200 transactions, and I only paid $18,000 in federal tax. Look at what federal tax you're paying for. The reason I paid so little federal tax is I took so many losses in my real estate. And this is what big syndicators are doing. This is what Warren Buffett is doing. This is, if you guys follow a Grant Cardone or other big syndicators, this is what they are doing. Okay, so if I was to do it all over again, I had a reawakening, right? My goal was to be financially free by 40, and thank God we were blessed enough to be financially free at 38. So I had the okay moment, and today I'm 41 years old, and I'm still playing this sport because I love it, right? I'm literally obsessed with it. I'm going to try to wrap this up as quickly as possible. I wanted to make this a short presentation for you guys, right? Karp family has, right, with land that we own and other properties, we have over 20 properties, probably worth somewhere in that $14 to $15 million range, and over 40 units, and that does not include a 51-unit apartment complex that I'm the general partner in, 18 garages. If I was to do it all over again, what would I do? And I looked at myself at 40 and I said, okay, what would I do differently? Well, I would not purchase in New York. And even though I'm still purchasing a little bit in New York, and it's only because I'm trying to move my portfolio up and I'm trying to, greenhouse into Red Hotel, I wouldn't buy in New York. Unfortunately, the last eviction that we walked through took us 10 months. Just think what that does to your P&L, 10 months of lost rent, attorneys, sheriffs, nightmare. Second thing is with New York, there's no scale to New York. Literally the biggest property we have is 5 units, and I almost had to trade Brody and Brock to get it. Those are my 2 boys, right? So there's really no scale. Another mistake I did was I didn't really put leverage on my portfolio, right? I was a Dave Ramsey guy, and we were so blessed. The business was doing so well. We were just writing checks for houses. And I look at it in hindsight, yes, I could probably own 40 or 50 properties, and it could be worth 30 or 40 million if I would have used leverage. And leverage, it's like a supplement. I think leverage like a supplement if you could lock down good financing for long periods of time. So I also made the mistake is I didn't bring people along with me. And I had so many friends and family members that always wanted to get in the game, but they had 50, they had 100, they had 200, and they just could never find the right property. They didn't want to deal with tenants, toilets, and termites. And I get it. Like, I'm the inside player in this game. So what I ended up doing about a year ago with one of my business partners is we started an apartment syndication. And we actually, about 60 days ago, with a few limited partners, we purchased a 51-unit apartment complex in Dyersburg, Tennessee. It's been renamed The Grove. And basically, the nice thing now is now I'm able to provide an outlet for my friends, family, and inner circle to invest their capital next to my capital. And to be totally honest with you, when I spoke yesterday to all these business owners, if somebody walked into my office today and said, Brian, here's a check for what your portfolio is worth, or we can give you back your portfolio, which one would you choose? All day long, I would take the check. And the reason I would take the check is because I would find a syndicator like myself to invest the money with. Because in this opportunity, my limited partners are able to own a portion of this complex, but it's real passive income, right? Rental real estate isn't passive until you have property management. And in my opinion, even with property management, they still have to speak to you. So it's really not passive income until you have a syndicator. And basically, just to give you a quick overview, we're buy and hold, right? And our timeline for this project is probably somewhere in that 5 to 6 year range. But what we are is value add investors. And it's exactly what I did with my portfolio here in Suffolk County. We bought this, we're going into each unit, and we are trying to bring down the expenses. How are we doing that? We are now charging back everybody $75 a month for utilities, right? That wasn't going on prior. We are also going into all the units. A lot of the one bedrooms are renting for $650. We're raising them up to $750. And then we're even renovating some of them and raising them up to $800. The 2s and 3 bedrooms, we're renovating those and we're adding washer and dryers and trying to raise them to $850 and $950, right? I'm sorry, the ones we're trying to get to $750. So by us doing this, and our plan for this project will probably take us about 18 to 24 months to stabilize it. Once we stabilize it, we will restructure the value of this entire complex. And then we will hold it. Rents every single year. If you look at our portfolio here in Suffolk, every year we try to raise all of our doors at least 5%. Now, let me talk to you about how to make money out of thin air, right? Picture this, we have 40 units, right? Let's just say every unit you raised $100, right? Times 40. That's $4,000 a month that you just created out of thin air by raising the rent. And if you look at rents, they went up substantially during COVID, but every single year rents go up because the dollar bill is being inflated and money goes down. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we have an opportunity now for people to invest in something where they don't have to be the operator and they don't have to manage the real estate. And, you know, somebody yesterday asked me, well, why'd you guys choose Tennessee? We actually put a map out and did extensive research on all these different red states, right? We wanted landlord friendly states. Someone here is out in 30 to 40 days, which is pretty incredible. But we looked at migration patterns and we saw that, yes, people are still going to Florida, but that's kind of slowed down. Yes, people still going to North Carolina, that's slowing down. But the more and more people I sit with, the more and more people are telling me they're going to Tennessee. And what we do is our business models, we're buying in secondary and tertiary markets. So if you go to Nashville, Nashville's got cranes everywhere. That ship sailed, right? We should have bought Nashville a decade ago when I was buying all of Suffolk County. So these are areas where people are being pushed out from. This is 40 minutes from Jackson, which is pretty cool. And what's going on there is that's a major city that has Blue Oval, which is one of Ford's electric car companies. So we're very excited about this. We're excited that we have limited partners with us. If you guys are interested in potentially investing with us, please reach out. We'd love to talk to you about it. If you have a friend or you know people and you're like a broker, like a financial advisor, or you're an accountant and you have people who might be looking to invest money in real estate, this is a great opportunity. They can do it with their IRA. They can do it at a 1031 exchange. They can do this tax-free. And then we have so many different opportunities coming in 25. So let me see if I could stop the screen sharing. I acted like I was techie. All right, I think we're done with that. Stop screen sharing. All right, if anyone has any questions, reach out to me. Anything I can do for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if I leave you with anything, right, the best time to buy real estate was yesterday.